There we go. I invite you to close your eyes and feel into the energy of yourself. Feel the magic of yourself. Invite that awareness in. Welcome the knowledge that you actually are this beautiful, magical being. Whether that is the seed of awareness or whether you are full blown into really honoring and recognizing how incredible you are, wherever you are on that journey, this is the space for you. This recognition and awareness of the power of who you are. This is the world of oneness where we come together collectively, where our mind, body, and soul and all aspects of self step into receiving and sharing, to accepting, trusting, and believing. Feel yourself gathered around the circle, looking one another in the eyes, right and left. Feeling the beautiful ripple effect, 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. Calling in our compassionate spirit guides, the way showers, the wisdom keepers and storytellers, the ancient ones, the angels, and whatever other guides would love to join us, to be part of this for the highest good, for the most benevolent reasons, and the greatest good of all. Feeling the magic of being saged by the person to your left and to your right. Feeling a grounding in around the circle. And a willingness to participate. Whether that is in listening mode, holding space, or asking questions, or all of the above. And so it is. I wanted to share something really, really interesting with you. I literally went for a walk around the block, as is the thing that I usually do. And on that walk, of course, for those who know me very, very well, I found a feather. In fact, I found a feather and then I found another feather. However, these feathers were very, very unique. 99% of the time, it's a crow or a raven feather. Today, the feathers are literally so very, very tiny. And I just really felt the energy. I found the black one first and then the white one, and I could just feel the energy of the balance of things and really kind of stepping into the magic that is unfolding all around us. And that's what I truly invite you here today to be a part of, is the magic that is all around us. And I would love to share this incredible spotlight with my beautiful friend, our first guest speaker, the beautiful Christina de Souza. Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you, Sandra.
Yes, I'd love to introduce this beautiful soul. I've known her for roughly almost 2 years now, I guess it is. Almost 2 years. Man, time is flying, eh? And we've had a lot of really interesting adventures. We've held space together. We've gotten to know each other in another arena. And then as things unfolded, we became um, comrades or um,
Allies.
allies. Thank you. Yeah, allies in really wanting to give to the world in a very powerful manner. And Christina is the founder of the World Mastermind Cafe, and very beautiful, very magical person. And if you ever get the opportunity to ask her about her TED Talk style of conversation, because she has this very powerful journey of her own life that is definitely something that a lot of people need to share. And it is the basis of how the World Mastermind Cafe was created. Christina is also very, very intuitive, beyond what most people I feel are really like. Her connection with the energy is stunning, absolutely stunning. And I think she has really learned how to lean into that in a very powerful way over this last 8 months that her and I have really stood beside each other, back to back and front to front and side to side. And in that, she's really wanting to show you all about these incredible things that you are capable of doing with the sacred gifts and so much more. And so she is here to speak about her incredible topic of, bear with me here. Or did you want to say your title? I've got it here handy. Give me a half a second. I thought I'd be so prepared. Her talk today is from imposter to gifted, and how being exactly who you are is the most effortless approach to making a difference. And so I introduce to you Christina. And please do feel free to write comments and ask questions in the chat, please.
Thank you, Sandra. Sacred Gifts was introduced to me several times in my life. Once when I was quite young, when I was, well, like most young people, really full of myself and really thought I knew everything like young people do. And when I first learned that I had these sacred gifts and I learned that there was 24 of them, I got really excited about what some of them sounded like. And I wanted so badly to have those gifts because I thought they sounded really interesting. I thought people would find them shiny and bright and special, more so than some of the other gifts. Um, and what I found was when we try to step into something that we are not, it's not comfortable. It was a lot of work. And when you're not gifted at something and everybody else around you in that arena is, it's really hard to pull it off. You're second best. You're not the authentic self that you're meant to be. And, I would shove this aside and carry on with my life, and through many different pockets, learn many lessons about myself, like we all do. We all have those younger life lessons that teach us many things about ourselves. And my profession did this for me. I had an early profession in finance, and the pockets that I found myself in weaving through had me constantly pulled into these leadership roles. And whether it was through creativity or strategizing, I was always pulled into these conversations. And I soon learned that I had these abilities. I couldn't quite explain them, but I had these abilities to articulate things in a way that others found inspiring. They were easily understood. And this got me curious. How was it that I was able to do things without, say, a formal education in it, or someone having taught me very specifically how to do it? More and more curiosity came, and an opportunity once again to revisit sacred gifts. And this time, it really caught my ear. Each of us have sacred gifts, several of them. And when I listened this time, I had life experience I could reflect back on. And when I did, I found these patterns. And these patterns were telling of these gifts. When I leaned into those, I found that it was effortless. It wasn't work. And I learned that I was born with these gifts, much like all of you. All of us have them, several of them. It's quite a thing to learn that you have several gifts actively in you simply because you were born. You don't have to do anything to attain them. You simply have them. But when we don't know what they are, we can simply trip up over them and not even notice they're there. Why? Because they're effortless for us. Effortless, like my eyes are green. I did not have to work at this today. I just woke up. I opened my eyes. They are green. I might not have even noticed. Someone might point it out. It might go by and nobody notices at all. They're mine. Your gifts are yours. And how it is that we can go in today's society so blind to them is that we're trained often to aspire to have more talents, more skills, more abilities, that they be trained and formally so through universities and career paths and all of these things that give us these, accolades and all of our credentials. These things that really tell us who we are instead of allow us to lean into who we are. This is important. Sandra, I see you jumped
Wow. So I'm gonna come back in and out just so you know, Christina, because you wanted this to be very interactive. Unless you want me to stay on specifically with you, I could do that as well.
No, however you want to do this, Sandra, it's your show. I'd love to be here. And
Okay.
I did ask you to be interactive because I think it's more fun for the audience to hear and listen for those curiosities. And I can poke into any of these pockets should you have questions or curiosities. So please bring them.
For sure. I just want to say something already too, is what I'm really hearing is something that's been a thread through all of our lives. And I think it's really important for this to be highlighted again, that we have all of these incredible pieces to ourselves that make us a very unique being. And in that very uniqueness, we have literally been shut down and told to, learn how to do this, learn how to do that, become this person, go to this school, go to that school, get married, whatever the things are that are typically considered what humans are supposed to do, are things that I believe energetically, it's like my living a nomadic life. That is such a natural gift for me. And so how do people discover that natural peace? Like, is it just listening to what other people say about them, or how do they find where they're being an imposter or not necessarily an imposter, but finding the courage to become who they truly are? I
Mm.
think the imposter is actually what we've been told to be.
Often, I think the imposter steps in, and imposter, let's use this as a very gentle word to say we've put ourselves in containers. And when we put ourselves in a container that we don't quite identify with, we feel like an imposter. Uh, I often like, because my company is a cafe, I often like thinking of a cup and coffee. Well, coffee is the flow, it's our energy, it's everything that we get to be. The cup is the expression that holds it. It's the way we, whether it's a tall, 16 ounce or a little shot glass, whatever it is that our expression of self is, it's still our energy that flows through it. So a couple of fun ways to look for, that very innate self is to look at times when, here's a great one. When do you lose track of time? When do you lose track of time? Really, just everyone take a moment and think about this. Maybe put it in the chat. When do you lose track of time? Sometimes it'll sound like, oh my goodness, oh, it's been a half hour. So when you look down at your watch, it's like, oh my goodness, no, it's been hours. This is, if you've been in a conversation with me, you've definitely had this experience. This is one of those things that is a tall tale sign to us being an effortless flow of that energy. When we start putting restrictions on it, it starts feeling like work. It starts feeling like effort. At the end of a day, we'll feel tired. If we've been in an effortless state, we feel energized after those conversations or interactions. That's a great way to find some of those innate abilities. Often it's also what people will say to us. We'll often hear people come up to us and say, oh, I can't believe you just said that. Or, it's interesting. And they'll have a memory. Or they'll say, I was just thinking about that right there, right then. Or, oh, that was so convenient the way you just swooped in and pulled that out of my way. There's so many different ways that we show up in an effortless way. In the audience here, I bet someone has the gift of service. Most of us do. And I bet a handful of us will go into a public washroom and can't help ourselves, but after we dry our hands, dry the counter down, yeah. Sandra, I see your hand go up. I bet somebody else is chuckling here in the audience because you can't help yourself. And thank goodness, because can you imagine what those public washrooms would look like if it wasn't for the assistance of those of us who can't help ourselves but clean it up after ourselves? And for everybody else's benefit too. That's just one of 24 different gifts, and it shows up in lots of different ways. More than just public washrooms. It might be returning carts at a grocery store or clearing off the end of a till. It might be coming to the aid of someone because it's effortless for you in a place where it's challenging for them.
I love this. I'm wondering if I can ask those who are watching and listening, and if you're watching this on a replay too, write it in the comments underneath the YouTube video because that's where the replays will be. I would love if you could write in the chat 2 or 3 things that you feel you're natural at. Okay. And I share this because there are things that we think we're natural at, and there are things that we truly are natural at. And with Christina's beautiful, like when she talks a little bit more about what she has to offer here towards the end, there's a process that she takes you through. And I know I sat down with her for a amount of time, really deep diving into one of these sacred gifts in self-discovery, because I really felt like this was so much me. However, it was the little nuances that I really started to recognize with Christina's help, that it was actually something that, yeah, I was fairly natural at it. However, it wasn't my forte per se. So when you start to write these things down, you're already starting to hone in on who you are. And maybe you can expand on that a little bit, Christina.
I'm just reading through the comments here, and I'm already seeing such natural gifts show up. And I do apologize, Sandra, because I was reading while you asked me your question. Do you mind repeating your question for me?
I basically what I said was, take it away with what you're reading, and that's what you're
Oh,
doing.
pardon me. Yes, yes, yes. What I'm seeing is, for example, Sandra, you said it beautifully. The things that we think that we're natural at or are come effortlessly at to us. I'm seeing creativity, teaching, expanding on being able to communicate something in a way that really educates another person. These are all hints towards gifts. These are great insights to what yours might be. And the more you learn about them, Sandra hinted to something that happens during the workshop. And it's for me, it's the golden ticket. It's the thing I think is the most exciting about learning what your gifts are, is learning how to utilize them and putting them into this feeling on purpose formula where you're taking your sacred gifts and you're taking those needs in the world. And when you're putting those together, it shows you exactly how and where to show up in your life. It also shows you how you've been showing up and where that energy might be coming from, how you might create more spaciousness in your life around this. And um, in some places, it also cleans up some fun little, I don't want to say difficult, but sometimes messy in teams when you've got lots of people and you're trying to all coordinate your efforts. Sometimes knowing where somebody is gifted, where someone else is simply talented, is a beautiful thing to provide in essence to a community moving projects forward.
I want to even expand on that even more too. It's even in recognizing who your natural friends are around you. It goes like it's on so many different levels. It's how you interact with your family. It's how you interact with your friends. It's how you interact with your collaboration partners if you're doing something like this, or even on anything. It's layers upon layers, and by all means, it's the layers upon layers are not there to scare you. They are there to empower you. So with what she's just said, like I can now read through this list and I can lean into, oh man, Simone creates a safe nursing space. And she does that naturally. And when you go around her, you can feel the energy of that. So every one of you, when I read that thing, if I know you personally already, I can really feel the energy of what you're already laying down, and I can feel why we're drawn together. So that is me also standing in that true authentic self, correct, Christina?
Absolutely. And Sandra's had the benefit of coming through this program. So she's also identifying quite effortlessly gifts that she is seeing. I think that the layers that we're talking about, I want to pull this back into this conversation of the world of oneness. We're all gifted. And our gifts are meant to be given to the world. They're not meant for ourselves. In fact, I don't benefit from the gifts I have. I benefit from the gifts others have that I can receive because I have the need for them. That gifted nature combined with that needed nature, when you put those together, it serves everyone and everyone's fulfilled. The energy that you get from being aligned in your gift is that effortless energy. And to be a recipient of someone's gift is to be in that energy as well. It's very uplifting. It creates it's just palpable. Sandra can also speak to this because she's been in this flow where you start feeling this elevation in your own energy field. You feel connected, and everything creates a bit of a click in clarity around whatever it is you're focused on. This to me creates so much spaciousness for growth and that connection. And when we start recognizing that, because we all have needs, thank goodness, permission to be needy. Yay. Who would like to be a little bit needy? I'd like to be a little bit needy. I would love to see and experience the gifts of others. And it is only because we have these needs that there is the need for the presence of those gifts. So permission to feel needy, permission to be gifted. And when we do this, how we get out of that imposter syndrome is when we just stand in the authenticity of who we are. We get out of the lane of trying to be and do it all for everything and everyone. And we say, hey, my name's Christina Souza. I'm gifted in this way, and I'd love to contribute in a valuable way to this cause or to this project or to your experience. And I know where my limits are, and I can stay within them. And everybody benefits when I do.
Yeah. So expand on how does this want to come through? Like for myself, I know I'm a visionary, and it comes across on many different places and many different, tests, etc., archetypes and things. And then how does that sacred gift come into play when I am around other people? Like I know for myself, it's very like I know myself quite intimately with regards to my abilities, my power, whatever you want to call that. And so when I think of the visionary, I have the ability to see what other people may not be seeing about their own journey and to be able to pinpoint something like that. So how is that how all of these gifts show up is in this type of ability or what's going on there?
What you're seeing is a need in the world. For example, you gave a great example. You have this ability to see a larger picture. Now, that's great if I want to see a bigger picture. It's obnoxious if I don't. And all of the gifts are like that. I have the gift of wise counsel. Not everybody wants to be walked up to and say, hey, I've got something smart to tell you. It just doesn't feel good. The gifts come alive when the need in the world is alive. And if they're not, the gifts can be dormant. Much like anything that you've probably ever done that you truly enjoy, it's enjoyable while you enjoy doing it. And when you no longer enjoy it, it no longer is enjoyable. You no longer do it. This is very similar. When there's a need present, it's almost like we cannot help ourselves. And if you think of that moment in your life where it's like, oh no, it's almost like I cannot help myself. It's, it's the room where I tend to be a know-it-all in, or that on the topic, I can't help but just let everybody, hear everything I have to say about it. There's so many ways these gifts, because there are so many, show up in our lives, but they show up because there is a need in the world for them.
So let's take this a step further again. And you guys have noticed I keep saying expand and step, right? What I'd love for you to do in the chat now is write the one or two things that you feel you're really poor at. And let's let Christina kind of advise us around how that is actually beneficial for ourselves. So we'll give you just a moment to write the one or two items that you feel you're less prepared or it's not your forte, whatever the case is. Mm.
speaking in front of a group. There is, there are, okay, so when we look at gifts, thank goodness there are so many. And when we do not feel like something is ours, wonderful. It means it's somebody else's. And we have so many, you don't need to have the ones you don't have. Something like public speaking. Gifts give us an interesting ability to do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And I'll give you an example of one of my own because I think it speaks to this beautifully. I have the gift of encouragement. The gift of encouragement is something that when people are in my energy, like literally, I can just walk into a room. I don't have to say anything, do anything. And people walk over and they'll say, "Oh, you've made my day." Really? I showed up. Uh, People will say, "Oh, I just feel better," or they'll text me hours after, "Oh, you've made my day. My energy's been fantastic for the rest of the day." It's a gift of encouragement. And this gift also creates this sort of like moths to a flame effect. If I go to a networking event, I'll be the person who has like 15 people standing around me. I, I happen to be an introvert. This is interesting. The gifts give us the ability to do things that otherwise we might completely not see ourselves having the ability to do. Public speaking often is something that energetically takes practice. You probably didn't like the first time you got on a bike either, or the height of the swing the first time you climbed on it, or the monkey bars. There's something about our systems that need to align to the practice of doing things. So I don't want to say that you don't have a gift to go and do this because you have a bit of fear around something. Fear is also a bit of a liar. It would have you believe nonsense if you would listen. So when it shows up, go, ha, how cute are you? But I'm in my human capacity and I don't need to be perfect. What I need to do is feel into this. And if it feels right to do so, I will do it. And if it does not, there's another way for me. My gifts show me ways forward. And my invitation that is being extended here today is to come and actually learn what your gifts are. And when you do, it gives you like superpowers. I know exactly how to position myself. There was a time in my business, I'm a coach, and I thought in the very beginning I'd run this very clinic, someone at the front desk, bring you into like this very clinical sort of setting because I came out of this counseling background. And oh my goodness, this would have been so dead in the water the first year. What I needed to do was get in front of people, socialize, have natural conversations like they were having around a coffee table. And that's where the deep dives happened. That's where the transformation happened. Why? Because I know what my gifts are. And when I aligned my practices and my activities to those gifts, my life got easier. So if something like public speaking is getting in your way, it's a matter of finding maybe a different vehicle to get you to the outcome that you want. And that's something we can strategize. And we can put your gifts into play, and that'll show you a natural path.
I, I, I want to say so much to this. You literally said some of the things that I want to say, and so I want to highlight that again in my own words as well. I noticed some of the things you were speaking about were speaking in public, learning a new language, and as well as some other things there. And believe it or not, I think for those of you who know me, you would never know that I actually consider myself an introvert and very shy as well. However, when I started to speak in public, I discovered I was a natural. And I'm so glad that I made that step in. And that may be something that you're really unaware of at first. And learning to become a public speaker, learning another language, when you step into the energy of at least attempting to do something, and putting your heart into doing it, giving yourself the effort. They say it takes 21 days to create a habit, right? Sometimes it's 3 months to create a habit. Stepping into the energy and putting some effort in to see if you're a natural at it is massively huge, massively huge. I dislike learning a new languages And I'll say it that way because I do know too that I have a natural ear that picks up on key words that are being said in different languages. So I can say a couple words in Russian that will carry the conversation. I can say a couple words in Spanish that will carry the conversation, in French. However, to sit down and learn a language, yuck. Right? So yeah, very, very interesting how this is doing with this. Yeah. I
It
don't
does.
even know what I want to say beyond that, but I think you got the idea, everybody, of just really kind of stepping in and exploring it. And Christina provides such a beautiful platform to do that.
I want to address one of the other comments in the chat here. Sonia, you mentioned, sometimes you have this blunt edge to what you're saying, and this is actually a gift. And once you know that it is one of the gifts, you'll understand how to wield this gift. And when I say wield, it isn't that we can manipulate these gifts. They're effortless. It's like I can't make my eyes more green today. I can point them out and I can utilize them to my benefit, but it's not like I can be greener eyed today. But when you understand your gifts and you understand why people are behaving and reacting the way you are, also, when you learn that your gifts, that person needs to be a person who actually wants to be a recipient of that gift, meaning that if it is not triggered in you, and there's ways to learn to understand, ooh, is this a moment where I am being called and gifted? Or is this a moment where I know that I'm a gifted person and I'm going to take my humanness and apply it to you and do it messy, sloppy, and it's not going to feel good. There's so much to learn about these gifts. We've got some beautiful people actually here in your audience, Sandra. Alan Tutt is another one here who has had this experience. He's also one of your speakers. His gifts are always evident and very present, much like yours, Sandra. Once you lean in and just own that your gifts are what they are, you'll notice when they're triggered in you. You'll notice when to lean in and really share what's on your mind, thoughts, actions, however your gift shows up for you. And when it is just your own human natural knowledge that you have a gift and you can see that this would be a great opportunity, it's not always the opportunity knowing what our gifts are. Them being engaged and activated within us because that need is present is really key.
Mm, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, very powerful. There's so many different exercises we can do. As you can tell, I've kind of asked you guys to do a couple questions in the chat. By all means, and again, I'm going to mention that what's the word I'm looking for? I'm vibrating right now. I'm literally vibrating right now. Christina is very natural at helping you discover what your sacred gifts are. And also too, it goes beyond that. I think I've been alluding to, all this underneath energy and how she draws out the question or presents another question to you so that you start to think in different ways. And I think that's very beneficial. So it's just like me asking you those three questions at the beginning. What are you, drop three things in the chat that you know or believe you're natural at. Drop one or two items in the chat that you feel you're less better at, that it's not your forte. And then two, another thing that I did in my own journey was literally asking other people. Like I would literally ask other people, what do you think I'm good at? And it would actually surprise me at what they would come back with.
This
Because
is
like Christina said, our sacred gifts, the ones that we're most powerful at, are the most hidden. And yet we are in it, doing it on a consistent basis. Right?
Yes, often when you are complimented, think of times when actually this is another way to lean in. When you've been complimented at times and you want to brush it off, like that's not a thing. Like, no, 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 you don't understand. Oh, Christina, thank you so, so, so much for, oh, I did nothing. I didn't even think about it. Like it was so effortless for me that I didn't even pay attention to the moment. And here they're holding on to it for years. And I'm like, I did? What? There was a moment in time that this happened? I don't recall. The way our gifts will land with another person have the ability to completely transform their life. Often people will say, uh, you know, as a feedback comment will be something like, oh, Christina, you were able to say something in one sentence or one phrase or in one session that has taken me years with like a traditional something or other, like exploring this or that. And it's simply because a gift is present. And the exact words landed at the exact time in just the way that person needed to hear it to completely change their perspective for them to see the world differently and move with it differently. The gifts, each and every single one of them, have characteristics that are as powerful, as transformative, and that make you just as special as someone like me who can now sit here with complete confidence and say, hey, yeah, you know what? That is a gift I have. Not too many people can do that. That's where that imposter syndrome comes in. It's like, oh, I couldn't be so bold. I couldn't do that. Oh, let me tell you, when that sacred gift is known to you and you know that it has the ability to change people's lives and to enrich your own, you will be bold, you will be confident, and you will know that you are gifted, and you're gifted for a reason. You're gifted for the reasons to meet the needs of the world. And when we look around at anything that we do, whether you're here in the audience as somebody who's just wanting to learn more about yourself, you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
If you
I want,
hear,
I want to give an example of this, Christina, if you don't mind. And I also want to take this a step further. I want to actually give everybody a full minute to drop into this as an exercise, okay? So my example is, I remember a number of years ago, I was running a summit, and there was an offer. I offered this, whatever this call was, and a person came on, and it was a 15-minute call. A beautiful, beautiful soul. And at the end of the call, like literally 15 minutes, at the end of the call, she was like, oh my gosh, I have been going to counselors for 15, 30 years, kind of thing, right? And in 15 minutes, you have totally had me change my whole mindset. That has really, I will never forget that moment for the rest of my life, because I was just doing something I naturally do, talking to them, right? So take a minute right now, guys. Like, we're going to literally give you a minute and think of something that somebody has brought to your attention or said about you. Okay? I'm setting the timer. We'd like it right in the chat too, please. An abridged version, if you like. That thing that somebody has brought to your attention, a compliment or something, write it in the chat what somebody said about you. There we go. The minute's up, and you're just putting your stuff in the chat. Thank you so much. Christina, do some of your magic with that if you like.
I love this. This is very telling of your gifts. This is a great way for you to be exploring yourself in ways that you already know these things. This is not going to be new. One of the beautiful things about gifts is you were born with them. This is kind of like this hidden treasure within you that you get to reveal versus something you have to find in regards to like, oh, it's out there. No, 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 it's inward. This is a beautiful thing. And your comments are already showing me that you're already in tune. And with that little bit of, what do I want to say? Sort of a framing for you to be able to put this into practical use in your life, it isn't use in your life. I want to say more so that I want you to be able to apply this. I want you to be able to find the pockets where this energy flows and to expand in those pockets. There was a time for me in my business that I was sort of in alignment. I was financial advising, and I would say that for about 20% of my time, I was in front of my clients, listening to their big dreams, really filling in all the pockets, making sure the T's were crossed, I's were dotted, all the things. And then 80% of my time was doing the paperwork. My gift was in the 20%. 20% of my time. When we think of the amount of time we dedicate to different things, whether it be projects or work or family, whatever we're doing, if we're spending a small amount of time on our gifts and the majority out of the pocket, guess what was also out of the pocket? My energy. When I realigned and I started going, to be in the pocket of that energy, to constantly be in that flow state, I want to expand that to be the majority of my time client focused, less time in the administrative side of things. All of a sudden, I spend the majority of my time in fabulous energy, incredible people, loving exploring gifts. That is my wheelhouse. This is the type of thing I want you to be able to do. It's not that your gifts aren't already present. We want to create pockets where they're effortlessly so that you can be in that energy. Let me just grab a couple more here, Sandra, or if you want to feed any that have already popped up for you.
No, you're doing wonderful. This is your show.
Okay. Yes. You know, there are the gifts of wise counsel and the gifts of knowledge. There's quite a few of them that, on the surface without diving deeper can look the same. What we really want to do is dive deeper into the nuances because it is in the nuances. As an example, Sandra alluded to having a visionary gift. There are 4 that stack up and down inside of that. And if she were to mistakenly be looking at the other 3 that she does not have and dismiss the one that was, as blue as her blue eyes are, she might have thought she had no gifts at all in this arena. Being able to dip in and look closer. So, Sonia, you said the woman told me she had 2 degrees in psychology, and I had helped her finally apply everything. This is tall telling of a gift. You want to come and explore this because we also want to be mindful as we utilize our gifts. They are innate to us, but we don't. There are times where people have turned around and said, "Oh, Christina, I'm surprised you don't have a PhD in this." Yeah, I don't. Probably important to know that. But at the same time, when the results are inevitable, truly successful, the shifts have happened, it becomes undeniable. So we want to understand our gifts with clarity so that we know how to apply ourselves and so that we take the lane that is ours, that bringing it back to, that imposter syndrome happens when we start getting to that difficult energy, when we feel like we're going against the stream, when we start performing, when we start becoming self-conscious of what others are thinking. I am not self-conscious when I'm in my gift. You could not distract me.
I've
Right?
witnessed that.
Right? Like bluebirds could come sit on my shoulder and sing their sorrow song, and you are not distracting me from what I'm doing. But if I'm not in my gift, that would be like, what? Like imposter syndrome shows up. We want to look and go, for me, how does it show up? It probably shows up in some insecurities, in some feeling of our gut kind of like pulling back. Our gifts don't do that. Our gifts are like, ooh, all of a sudden we are floated. We can move. We've got nothing but confidence in being able to do what we do because we're not even thinking about it. It's effortless. And when we are complimented, we often will brush it off like, no, don't, it's okay.
I want to hone in on this piece because there's some really interesting sacred gifts. And you guys, once you get the opportunity to jump in and do the unfolding of this with Christina, by all means, I highly recommend it. I was really fascinated by one of the gifts specifically, and that was the gift of singleness, or how whatever that word is, because that is so not me. On one hand, because I'm in your face, I'm in people, and yet I love to be out by myself. And yet, when I looked at what that sacred gift was, I really understood how it wasn't me. So what about things like that come up?
So, gift of singleness. Oof, the person who has this as a gift just has the biggest sigh of relief right now. Their whole being just went, oh, there's a thing that gives like explains why I am like the one oddball in all my, social scenarios where people just don't understand that I'm totally cool. I don't need another person in my life. I don't. And they truly mean it. There's not a part of their being that says they need something else or another person. And often why that, like somebody will say, well, why this gift? Like, why is that a gift? Well, there's this is a gift that normally pairs with another gift, and it's usually a gift of blind faith. Somebody who would go to, like, let's think of like National Geographic, North Pole, going to go by themselves and photograph polar bears. The gift of singleness might really serve that individual who's going to be isolated for such long periods of time. I have a very dear friend who has this gift, and they do natural, um, they measure certain environmental issues and stuff, but they have to go into these incredibly remote places, and they'll be there for like 18 months at a time, living off the land, off the grid, out of range of communication. And I'd be like, I could not do that. like, I, I want to know exactly how long it would take me to reach another human being if I needed them. And they're like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, what if something happened? They have this blind faith and this gift of singleness that really enables them to do what they're meant to do in the world, and they love it.
Yeah. And I brought that up because there are 24, I heard you say 24 sacred gifts. So if you feel like you're one of those people that, oh, there's not going to be a sacred gift about me, I literally just showed you there might be. And that, well, I shouldn't say there might be. There is, it's a matter of discovering what it is so that it becomes something that you can shine with versus something that you're holding close to your vest and you don't even know it. Yeah.
Here's another way to explore this. Let's have everyone take a second and think of, like, when you look around in your community, might be your work environment, wherever you're spending the most time, it could be your family even. What are the needs that you naturally see? Things that need to be done,
Mm.
things that, someone should do something about that. Be great if someone did something about that. What are these needs that you see? Put them in the chat, and let me show you how what Sandra has just said is already present in this room. The needs we see in the world are very telling. It also makes up part of this beautiful equation that I'm sharing with you in the workshop of feeling on purpose, understanding these needs in the world and whether we understand what our needs are. Like, for example, I am painfully aware today that I need someone who has an incredible tech savvy ability to set up some sequencing. Oh my word. That is not a gift I have, and it's one that I need. So sometimes the needs might be ones that we can identify that we ourselves have. And then at other times, it's, oh, you know what? I can very plainly see clearly needs in my community. For example, when I was younger, I could see the need for counseling program, and I started a counseling program in my community so that the underprivileged would have access to mental health support. It was a need that I saw. It's very telling of this gift of wise counsel that I have. Interesting. And it happened long before I knew that I had this gift. It was an interesting discovery, which is what discerning our gifts is important, is really looking at how they're showing up. Now let's see. What did we write in the chat here? Yes, things that are effortless can be, or needs can be support in a Zoom room. You know, having somebody lend the ability to do some of that facilitation. Or sometimes it is, you know, Sandra, you alluded to someone earlier who has the ability to really facilitate. These are all forms of gifts. Understand are more powerful and capable than they think. Yes, this sounds like you know, this ability to empower people or encourage people. Very telling of another gift. Now, the thing to know about these sacred gifts is discerning them is critical. We live in a society where needs and talents are praised, and we have many of them, and the world needs them. We all need them. This is not to say, oh, let's do away with these and insert gifts. It's to know when in the presence of a gifted person to know that you're out of your league. Right? Like this is to allow a gifted person to do what they are so designed to do is a blessing to everyone present. Talents and gifts, though, or excuse me, talents and skills that we've honed are still assets. The difference, though, a gifted person will be energized at the end of the day. The talented, skilled person will tuck her out at some point. We want to know the differences, and we want for ourselves to know that difference. So we can do an assessment that helps you start to discern your gifts, but it never quite tells you what they are. That discernment is critical. So when I'm looking at some of your comments, I can tell that discernment is something that you're going to want to do. Many of the comments like organizing, there's organizational gifts. Wonderful. We want to know if these are talents and skills or if these are gifts. And how we're going to be able to do that is by dipping into that energy that you feel when these pieces are present. Now, if these are the things that you're needing from someone else, you're looking for the gifted person who does this effortlessly and naturally. If this is the need you see needing to be fulfilled, it might be something that you feel called to do. It might be telling or insightful to one of your gifts being present.
We could go on and on with this. I'm hoping you guys have just like feel like your sponge is soaking this in. And every time I get together with Christina and get to hear more and more about the sacred gifts, I understand more and more and more and more about it. And I believe Alan Tutt could even speak to that as well because of his experience now with Christina and the sacred gifts. As others of you, I hope, will step into this. Speak to us a little bit about what you're offering today, and we open as well the floor to questions if you have any questions for Christina. So speak about what your gift is, and I'll grab the link for us.
Because there's 24 gifts, it is a lot to consume all at once. So what I'm inviting you to do is come spend 90 minutes with me. Let me introduce you to the characteristics, the Feel on Purpose formula, which allows you insights to more discernment tools, how to start discerning what gifts you might have, a little bit more insight and a deeper dive into what they are and how they work in your life. We then put that into that formula that has you feeling on purpose. And at the end of that workshop, you are invited to do the assessment with me and to take that deeper dive if it feels like it's in alignment. The value of the workshop alone is in that formula because it gives you something tangible to leave with. It can be applied to whatever you're doing right now by one, having that clear understanding of what a sacred gift is and that tool for discernment, as well as a deeper dive into some of these needs so that you can further understand how to, like I said earlier, go from something like, oh, I have these pockets and I dip and dive into it every now and then accidentally in my life to no, I really live feeling on purpose because I actively create these opportunities in my life. And this being something that applies to each individual human being as a gifted person versus saying, it's only a business person that would value from this, or only a organization, or only people need people. our gifted selves are needed in the world by the people around us. And when we better understand our gifts, we get to show up in more magnetic ways, more joy-filled ways in our lives. And that's ultimately what I want for the people that I work with. So this 90-minute introduction to your sacred gifts provides you the tools and the resources and an insight and the invitation to take a deeper dive if you want to do so.
Yeah. I've known Christina, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, for almost 2 years now. In January, we actually really came together in an even more powerful way, and holding space on a bi-weekly, like 2 times a week, we get together. And in March was the first time that I stepped into the energy of taking this call that she's offered you. And it is amazing what has unfolded from there. Like literally, like I said, that March, like I alluded to my Sacred Spiral Oracle deck. It was in March, after that, discovering what my sacred gifts were. From March in the next 3 months is when I literally created this deck. And I put it, like, I gave the kudos to Christina, because I probably would still be sitting here wishing I had a deck being created. So stepping into the energy of even doing this 90-minute class will change your life. It will change your life. Yeah. Any questions for Christina? Any comments, questions or comments? I'm going to take us off spotlight and put us back in gallery view here so that we can all see each other. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Oh, thank you, Alan. I appreciate your comments there in the chat. This is a beautiful way to meet people as well. When you meet a gifted person, it's really hard to not see them in their gifted, like as an initial introduction to people. Alan is someone I met at Sandra's last summit, and I had the privilege and honor of getting to know better through him joining the Sacred Gifts. And I cannot see Alan without seeing his gifts first. It's like gifted Alan Tutt. So thank you for your comments.
I'm going to do my my Jaws interpretation, you guys. Let's have some takeaways in the comments then, please. Hashtag takeaway.
Actually, I'll just go ahead and mention this out loud since there is a silent portion here. One of the things that I came away from Christina's program with is an understanding that even though I do have gifts in the learning and education spaces where I've been working for over 20 years, there was another gift that came out of that I did not see as a gift. And she's already mentioned it, as far as the gift of service, the gift of seeing that something needs to be done and just jumping in and doing it. And what I've also learned is that in order to be gifted, you don't have to be the star on stage. You can be part of the backstage crew helping to make the star look good. And that in itself is a gift. And so I'm stepping into that a little bit more, and we'll get into that some other time.
Thanks, Alan.
I love that, Alan. It's such a beautiful acknowledgement of how important the gifts are. In my community, you sit at a round table because there's no hierarchy when it comes to gifted people. The gifts are so needed, and when they come together in this beautiful mosaic, and you see just how important, and my experience with this profoundly was when I worked in the banking world. I would watch the big CEOs come through the door, song and dance. It is this campaign we're rolling out for this season, and it's going to be splashy. It's going to be wowing. It's going to have all these frills and benefits. And then the season would come, and as the front teller at the time, I would deal with the people, and I would have the conversations, and I would work hard all season to manage the flow of people, while the upper entourage, they were living it up, having the dream, living the experience. And I remember thinking, You can't forget the legs you stand on. It's so important to recognize that every single person at that table has a valuable contribution. And when it comes to a gifted person, the person beside you isn't more gifted because they've got a gift. We're gifted. And when we start understanding how these gifts come together in this beautiful way that really complete, Sandra alluded to having this visionary portion of a gift. I do too. And her piece and my piece beautifully come together and create a larger picture when we come together because of it. And you add in an Alan Tutt and you start getting this incredible communication style that is teaching and informative. When you start seeing how people can synergize together in this way, it's a really beautiful thing to know exactly how you're gifted. And light does not necessarily shine brighter on the top of the stage than from behind the stage, because the curtains don't open if you don't have any backstage people. So thank you, Alan. I appreciate your comments. Yes, Emily, pay attention to people, what people compliment you on, especially if you have a knee-jerk reaction to brush it off or to think it's not a thing or it's not special or play it down in some way. I think that might be the question, Sandra.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys, thank you so very much. Christina, you know it's a pleasure. I could get together with you every single day and not get enough of you. And I think that goes for most of the guest speakers that I know very well, that I feel the same way about each and every one of them. I'd love to sit in a room. I'd love to get together with you all personally. We should do a guest speaker retreat, a wisdom keeper retreat that is all of us guest speakers. And by all means, share that out to the world. As I mentioned, it really is feeling like this is the dripping of the water and you guys are all the flowers. And I just really want to hone that in. And with your takeaways, I can see how you're already beginning to grow. And that's such a beautiful, magical thing to witness. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christina.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I wish all of the listeners here a very gifted future.
I love that. Okay, we will take a break.